Imagine a scorching desert, the sun blazing down on a small caravan making its way across the sands. On the 2nd of Muharram, 680 AD, Imam Hussain and his loyal followers arrived at the land of Karbala. This moment would mark the start of one of the most heartbreaking and heroic stories in Islamic history. Imam Hussain was the grandson of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and known for his piety, bravery, and commitment to justice. He set out on this journey from Medina, guided by a sense of duty and honor, responding to the call for help from the people of Kufa. They were desperate for a leader who would stand up against the tyrannical rule of Yazid. As Imam and his small group of followers approached Karbala, they were tired and weary from the long journey. The group included not only men ready for battle, but also women and children, making the journey even more challenging. Despite the harsh conditions, their spirits were high, driven by their faith and determination. Arriving in Karbala, Hussain chose to set up camp near the Euphrates River. Why this spot? It was the only nearby water source, vital for their survival in the desert heat. The Euphrates would be their lifeline, providing much-needed water for drinking, cooking, and maintaining their strength. Setting up camp wasn't just about survival. It was a strategic decision too. The presence of water meant they could hold out longer against any potential siege. Hussain and his companions hoped they might find some respite here, perhaps even negotiate with Yazid's forces. But deep down, they knew the road ahead would be filled with trials. As they settled, the news of their arrival spread quickly. Yazid's forces, led by Umar ibn Sa'ad, were not far behind. The sight of these formidable troops was daunting. Imam Hussein's group was vastly outnumbered, but their faith was unshaken. They knew they were standing on the side of truth and justice. His followers, though few, were courageous and devoted. They were ready to face whatever came their way, standing by their leader with unwavering loyalty. Among them were seasoned warriors, scholars, and ordinary men who believed in his cause. Each one knew the importance of their mission and the sacrifices it might entail. The desert nights were filled with uncertainty. Imam Hussain and his companions spent their time in prayer and preparation. They knew that Yazid's forces would soon surround them, and the confrontation was inevitable. Yet their resolve remained firm. They were prepared to defend their principles, even if it meant paying the ultimate price. In those early days at Karbala, there was still hope. Hope that perhaps a peaceful resolution could be found, that Yazid's army might see the righteousness of their cause and relent. But as days passed, it became clear that Yazid was determined to crush any opposition, no matter the cost. Imam's camp became a beacon of resilience and faith. They were isolated, surrounded by a hostile force, but their spirits were united. Each day they looked to Hussain for guidance and strength. His presence was a source of inspiration, reminding them of their purpose and the values they stood for. This is just the beginning of the tragic tale of Karbala. As we move forward, we will see how these initial moments of hope and preparation turned into one of the most poignant and powerful episodes in Islamic history. As the camp settled near the Euphrates, a sense of foreboding hung in the air. The small group with Imam Hussain knew that their location would soon draw the attention of Yazid's forces. This was not just any ordinary journey. It was a stand against tyranny and a quest for justice. The camp itself was a modest setup with tents pitched close to the riverbank. Despite the imminent threat, the atmosphere was one of calm determination. The children played while the men prepared for what was to come, and the women tended to the daily needs of the camp, all under the watchful eye of Hussain. Their proximity to the Euphrates River was crucial. In the unforgiving desert heat, access to water was everything. It sustained them and provided a glimmer of hope amid the growing tension. But this lifeline would soon become a focal point in the conflict, as Yazid's strategy aimed to sever it. The sense of calm was shattered when scouts reported the approach of Yazid's army. Led by Umar ibn Sa'ad, this massive force was a stark contrast to Hussein's small group. The ruling soldiers were numerous, well-armed, and ready to enforce their ruler's will. The sight of their encroaching presence was enough to make anyone's heart race. Despite the disparity in numbers, Hussain and his companions did not waver. The camp's resolve was unshakable, and their faith was their strongest weapon. As the enemy drew nearer, Hussain called his followers together. He spoke of their mission, their duty to uphold justice, and their commitment to stand against oppression no matter the odds. Umar ibn Sa'ad's army soon surrounded the camp, creating a ring of steel and hostility. The initial days were tense but relatively quiet, with both sides eyeing each other warily. Negotiations were attempted, but Yazid's demands were clear and uncompromising. Hussain must pledge allegiance to him, forsaking his principles. Yes, it was 3rd Muharram ul-Haram, As the days passed, the pressure on Hussein's camp intensified. Yazid's forces were not content with merely surrounding them. They sought to break their spirit. The most devastating blow came when access to the Euphrates River was cut off. The water blockade was a cruel tactic aiming to force Hussein's hand through sheer desperation. The blockade brought unimaginable suffering. The heat was relentless. And without water, thirst became an ever-present torment. Children cried for water, their parched throats a stark reminder of the inhumanity they faced. Yet, in the face of this brutal siege, Hussein and his companions showed remarkable resilience. Hussein continued to lead his followers with unwavering resolve. He comforted the women and children, ensuring that their spirits remained high. He held discussions with his companions, planning their next steps and reinforcing their collective strength. His presence was a source of hope and inspiration, a living testament to their cause. In these trying times, the camp's unity was its greatest strength. They shared everything they had, supported one another, and remained focused on their mission. The hardship only deepened their resolve, transforming their struggle into a powerful symbol of resistance. As the situation grew more dire, Hussein's messages to Yazid's forces were clear and consistent. He would not capitulate. His stance was one of peace and justice, rejecting any form of submission to tyranny. Not at all. This steadfastness only fueled the determination of his companions, who were ready to face whatever came next, side by side with their leader. Yazid's forces tightened their grip on this small camp. The sense of isolation grew. The blockade of the Euphrates River turned the once hopeful encampment into a place of severe trial and tribulation. Despite the dire circumstances, the great Imam Hussain continued to lead with wisdom and compassion. He knew the importance of morale and unity among his followers. He spent time with each group, offering words of encouragement and strength. His calm demeanor in the face of overwhelming odds was a source of inspiration for all. Umar ibn Sa'ad, the commander of Yazid's army, was under strict orders to ensure Hussein's submission. But Hussein's defiance only hardened. The moral clarity of his stance shone brightly against the backdrop of tyranny and oppression. His refusal to yield was not just a personal act of bravery, it was a profound statement against injustice. As the days wore on, the lack of water began to take its toll. The children, in particular, suffered immensely. Their cries of thirst were heart-wrenching, echoing through the camp and striking deep into the hearts of the men and women who could do nothing to alleviate their pain. Yet even in such agony, the camp remained united. Hussein's family, including his sisters, wives, and children, shared in the hardships. Their presence added to the camp's resilience. These women, strong and steadfast, provided emotional support and practical assistance, embodying the spirit of endurance. They were the unsung heroes, their strength often overlooked, but crucial to the camp's unity. One night, Hussein gathered his companions. He spoke to them from the heart, acknowledging the severity of their situation. He told them that anyone who wished to leave was free to do so, emphasizing that their struggle was a voluntary one. This moment was a testament to his character. Even in the face of death, he upheld the values of freedom and choice. But none chose to leave. Each person reaffirmed their commitment to Hussein and the principles he stood for. Their loyalty was unshakable, rooted in their belief in justice and righteousness. This collective resolve was a powerful moment, solidifying their unity and determination. As the siege wore on, the physical and emotional toll became more evident. Yet Hussein remained a pillar of strength. He continued to lead prayers, offered solace to the distressed, and ensured that every member of his camp felt valued and cared for. His leadership was not just about strategy, but about compassion and humanity. The pressure from Yazid's forces grew more intense, with the enemy troops constantly probing and threatening the camp. But Hussein's group stood firm, their spirits unbroken. They knew that their stand in Karbala was not just for their time, but for future generations to understand the importance of standing up for truth and justice. Yazid's commander, Umar ibn Sa'ad, intensified his efforts to break Hussein's spirit. The pressure on Hussein's camp was relentless. The cries of thirsty children were a constant reminder of the cruelty of their situation. Yet even in the face of such adversity, Hussein's faith did not falter. One night, under the cover of darkness, a small group of Hussein's followers managed to sneak out of the camp in a desperate attempt to fetch water from the Euphrates. The mission was fraught with danger as Yazid's forces were vigilant. The brave men who embarked on this mission risked their lives, knowing the importance of every drop of water for their suffering companions. Their courage paid off, and they returned with some water. The camp was rejuvenated, if only for a short while. These moments of triumph, however small, were significant. They showcase the indomitable spirit of Hussein's followers, their willingness to sacrifice for the greater good and their unyielding loyalty to their leader. As the blockade continued, Hussain sought to communicate with Yazid's forces. He hoped to appeal to their humanity, to remind them of the teachings of Islam that emphasized compassion, justice, and mercy. In one such attempt, Hussein's half-brother Abbas, known for his bravery and strength, led a delegation to negotiate access to water. Abbas's courage and eloquence were unmatched, and his efforts were a testament to the desperation and determination of Hussein's camp. Despite these efforts, Yazid's forces remained adamant. The siege tightened, and the suffering within Hussein's camp grew more intense. The lack of water and the harsh conditions took a toll on everyone, but their spirits remained unbroken. They continued to pray, to support each other, and to draw strength from Hussein's unwavering leadership. As the final confrontation loomed, Hussain and his followers remained steadfast. Their stand in Karbala was not just a battle against Yazid's forces, it was a stand for justice, truth, and righteousness. The events of the 2nd of Muharram were a prelude to the epic saga that would unfold, a story of unparalleled bravery and sacrifice. In the face of adversity, Hussein's camp remained united. Their resolve was a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of faith and the human spirit's capacity for resilience. As we continue this journey, we will witness the remarkable courage and sacrifice that defined the Battle of Karbala. Stay with us for the next video on the Karbala video series and see what happened in 3rd Muharram in Karbala, the Valley of Pain and Sacrifice.